Hi, readers. It's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I am so excited today because it's another Tag Tuesday, and today is the Calm Down tag. This tag was originally created by Leandra at Leandra the TBR Zero, and I really enjoy Leandra so much. She brings new and refreshing books to me, and she has a great personality, and she does make me feel calm, as many of you content creators do. Coco is not so calm today, so I'm hoping that she will calm down very, very soon as well. Maybe this tag will help her too. But this is a series of prompts that will really kind of focus on the positive things rather than the freak out tag, which I don't know that it made me freak out particularly, but I like this tag because it kind of made me think differently about my reading so far this year and really reflected on what I want more of and what I'm purging from my life, which is really important. So let me get my glasses and we can get started with these prompts. So the first prompt is thankfulness. What has 2025 given me so far? First of all, I would say that one of the things that was an unexpected gift was the realization in a day when I was journaling and reflecting that I was focusing on a lot of things and pushing myself into a space that was uncomfortable at times. And so I had this notion in my mind of this question, what is enough? And so I have been being with that question for a while now, and I really like it. I have it on a post-it note. I have it on my calendar so I can see it every day and remind myself to ask that when it's necessary. And it has really helped me to be all right with enough and not to push myself. I wouldn't say it's a type A, well, maybe it is a type A personality, but not in the sense that I don't get upset with anybody else, uh, which sometimes type A's do. I worked for a type A for a while. I think I have a commitment to others before self, which is something I'm working on. And the ability to say no is something that I'm working on as well. And a lot of what I'm sort of noticing each month now is, oh, this was too much and this was enough. So that's kind of what I've been doing. The other thing that 2025 gave me is Chris Whitaker. I know I've talked about him a lot, but I gotta say, these are really some of the best books I have read in a long time. And I'm so excited that I got to these both this year, and I'd like to get to another one. But it's not only about his writing, and both of these books were very, very good, but it's also about his personality, his story, I've listened to him in several talks with other people, other authors, and I just think he's a good human on the earth, which we all need. But I can't wait to get to another one of his and hopefully another new release of his soon. Prompt number 2, relaxation, the most relaxing book that I read this year. I would say that is probably this one, because a lot of the books I read this year, including the Chris Whitakers, were not particularly relaxing, but this one really was. I'm so grateful for you guys for having picked this one for me for my nonfiction read for Q2, because it was just, there was very little tension, there was joy, there was getting to know some of these humans more, because the characters are so cemented in my head, but it was really nice to see them as people, and as people who at times were really struggling or really celebrating or learning and growing. But I just adored this, and it really was a relaxing read for me. I really read it pretty quickly too. It was really fun. So I recommend that one for sure. The third prompt is Hydration, a book that I needed this year, and that is The Reading List by Nisha Adams. I can't say that it is the most peaceful book to read. There are some things that happen. Some of the characters are really struggling, and so it has some ups and downs for sure. But the way it was written, it was a book about books, which of course really does hydrate me, generally speaking, but also the way she wrote it, the characters, that she really developed deeply. The circumstances that people were under, the tone about saving libraries was really something that hydrated me and made me feel very, very calm, and that I needed to really get into something that I had not read by that author before, but also to get into something that just took me into the lives of people that I really cared about and enjoyed, and I felt like I was with them through the entire time. Number 4, Nourishment, a book that energized me. I would say that that is Be Ready When the Luck Happens by Ina Garten, another nonfiction pick from each of you. And I I have to say, Ina Garten is not a person that I knew as much about before I read this memoir. I really just knew about her cooking and some of the shows I would watch, and I knew she was pretty unique in some ways for a person that does, kind of cooking shows like that. But I really enjoyed the fact that I could learn about her trajectory from where she worked before, which is very different than what being a famous cook and someone who inspires all of us to eat and cook differently. She worked for the federal government, which was a surprise to me, I guess, what she did for a living compared to what she does now. But I loved the trajectory of how she built the business and how she and her husband, moved through their lives together and their commitment to each other and those kinds of things. I just really enjoyed it. So seeing a snapshot of her as a real person was really fascinating to me, and she inspired me to really look at some things differently, including food. So there's that. Number 5 is Familiarity, an author that I've returned to. So for that prompt, this is the one that I chose, but the author is Abby Jimenez. I read one of hers last year, and I was surprised by how much I liked it, how well developed the characters were, and how the story had some predictability, but not in a campy, like we knew this was going to happen way, which I really enjoyed. So I decided to read some more by her this year too. So I read The Fall Risk and Worst Wingman Ever, which were short stories that were provided by Amazon, and then this one recently, which I'll talk to you about soon. But I do like the way she develops her characters. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I have read her, and so this is one of my reasons for choosing more romance books at this point too. So that's fun. Number 6 is Healthy Risk. Read a book outside of my comfort zone or a new to me author. And the one I've chosen for this prompt is The Safe Keep by Yael van der Wooden. Sorry. Yes, this one came to me from a recommendation, I think from Currently Reading podcast. And it was not a book that I knew anything about. It wasn't on my radar. It was a debut novel by this author, which, doesn't always work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This one worked so well that she was nominated for several book prizes this last year. But I was also a little uncomfortable by it because I wasn't sure what this book was actually going to be about. I knew that it went back in time, so to speak, to their parents and the experience that they had during the war. And then it came into their lives together. But there was just so much that was unexpected for me in this book that it's really one of the reasons why this one will stay with me probably for a very long time. It was really, really well done. Was it difficult at times? Yes, but the characters, the way it evolved, it was just wonderful. Very, very well done. So I'm happy that I took that risk. Number 7 is a reflection, changes in my reading taste. That one has to do with the books that are on my shelves currently and whether or not I have a desire to read them. And I'm noticing that in some cases I do not. I have a lot of books, as you've probably seen in multiple videos that I've done, and maybe you can't see how tall these all go, but they're very tall. I have a bookshelf in my room. I have a bookshelf in my office. I have a lot of books. So what I'm noticing is if I look at a book and it doesn't really feel like I want to read that book, I'm going to have to consider whether or not it's time to get rid of it. I have purged a lot of books already this year. I put a lot of books in the little free libraries. I have put a lot of books in the hands of other people. I just am in a place where if it's not exciting and I don't plan to read it, or I don't have any joy about thinking about reading it, it's probably time to let it go. No matter how much I spent on it, or no matter how much I thought I would like it, or whatever the thought may be, it's time to just say it's okay for you to go. If I decide later on in my life that I want to read that book, that's okay. But I'm noticing I want to read the ones that I've gotten more recently, much more so than I want to read the ones that I've been carrying around for years and moved here into this house from another house I had been carrying them around for years in. So there's my reflection, and I'm feeling good about it. It feels healthy, it feels exciting, it feels good. And I can always go to the library and borrow a book that I purged later. There's no reason why I can't do that, right? So these books are going to be available to me in some form or fashion, even if they're not on my shelves. A detox is prompt number 8, a book or habit that I'm leaving behind. This one is regarding not finishing a book. So I have been in my lifetime that person who really felt dedicated to finishing a book, even if I wasn't enjoying it at all. And I realized this year that I was struggling way harder than I needed to with a couple of books early on in the year, and that they just were not going to work for me. And I feel like in the past I felt like, oh, you should finish this, especially if it's an arc, which has happened to me now twice this year. I felt like, oh, I've really got to get to this. Also, it has a little bit of a tie to meeting my reading goals, but I don't ever worry about my reading goals as much because I always meet them these days. Not so years ago when I worked in a different space and had different kids at home, but I have sort of a rule for myself now. I can DNF a book and still count it as read if I've read more than 50% of it. To me, I gave it a good try, and it just isn't going to work for me. However, if I'm going to start a book and I start and think, this is not for me, I've been DNFing it. And that's happened to me a good bit. And I haven't even brought those forward to you because I'm not even going past chapter 1 sometimes. That has been really freeing for me. Back to the what is enough question. For me, sometimes one chapter is enough, and I don't feel bad about that at all. And so it either helps me to purge books, it helps me to realize that an author really just isn't for me, or maybe a genre, but typically it's just that particular book at that particular time is not going to do it. In fact, the arc that I'm going to talk about soon in my reading wrap up was an author that I've really enjoyed in the past, and that was a surprise to me, but we'll talk about that later. So prompt number 9 is positivity, an anticipated book or events that I'm looking forward to. First one is an event, and I'm not sure that this is going to work out for me because it's a bit of a drive for me, and it's the day before I have to travel out of town to Washington, D.C., and so I will be, of course, packing and getting ready for that. And while I can do that ahead, I'm questioning whether that's too much. Like, what is enough, right? Getting up early, driving to Jackson, Mississippi, which is a bit of a trek, and then driving home again in the afternoon and spending all day with bookish people, which will probably energize me, but then probably an early flight on Sunday because I have to get to DC at a certain time for a certain event. So I don't know that that's going to work out, but have been looking forward to it until I got the dates of my trip. And then the second one that I've been looking forward to is a book, and that is The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. I mentioned this before. I did a Throwback Thursday, I think, on Wally Lamb. He is amazing and incredible to me. It will count for me as a big book summer read, so I could start it very, very soon, which I may do. But I absolutely love Wally Lamb, and the reviews I'm getting from the people that read like me are really promising. Although somebody that I follow, Elizabeth Barnhill, I think it was, said this was one of the saddest books she's ever read in her life, which I'm in for because I know what to expect from Wally Lamb, and I know that this one is not going to be easy. But I have mentioned this to you before, and I don't necessarily need to tell you the synopsis of this again, except to say that this man ends up going to prison and leaves his family behind. And yeah, it's I'm sure going to be dark and deep, but Wally Lamb is dark and deep, so that's not something unexpected to me. And then the last one is Looking Ahead, Your Personal Plans and Goals. This one is So I'm reevaluating my goals for this year because I'm in the mid-year space of that as well. There'll probably be a video up on how I've done with my goals very soon. I am considering, again, with the what is enough caveat, I'm considering adding sprints to my channel. I haven't done it. It's a technology fear I had for a long time, and then my friend Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures has helped a little bit with that to kind of alleviate some of my fears. But also, it's a time factor, right? For me, like if I'm in a room on Zoom for 2 hours doing reading sprints with you, that's a good chunk of my day. And I wish I could say I'm retiring very, very soon, but I'm probably not. Yeah, it's just tricky. So I'm thinking about it though. The other thing is more big books. I have read just in this conversation, I've showed 3 of these for you. We Begin at the End wasn't small necessarily either, but I don't know that it would be considered a big book in the scheme of the readathon. But I am trying not to shy away from big books and trying to make a space for them. And that's been really, really fun. And I plan to continue to do that, not just because of the big book readathon, but also just because I have a lot of them and I'm noticing that I can really do that. I mean, I read 11/22/63. If I read that all the way through fast, I can do anything. I am like superwoman. And then the other thing is less book buying. I've recognized mid-year that I bought a lot of books. And again, I'm noticing that it's okay to buy new books because I'm buying books that I really want to collect and that I'm really excited by. For the most part, I have no qualms about them in terms of will I like them or not. The issue is purging the old to bring way for the new, or not buying them until I read them from my library, give my library a little bit more love than I already give them, and see if that's something I even want to keep. So what is the criteria for me to keep something on my shelf is a question I keep asking myself too. And so I think I'm going to obviously do a no-buy challenge soon. You probably heard that coming. August is a no-buy month for me. I last year did 3 months, and this year I'm going to start with 1 and see how we go. But I'm also just kind of noticing what is the impetus for me to just buy a book rather than to stop and think, is this a book that I want to keep on my shelves? Is this a book that's that important to me? So that's where I am with that scale, and we'll see how that goes from now until the end of the year. So that's my plan. More library love, probably less book buying, and maybe some sprint. Thanks for watching today and for listening to my prompts and the answers to these prompts on this tag. Again, thanks to Leandra for this great tag. I just really enjoy these, and I think this one is fabulous. I'm not going to tag anybody in particular because I don't know which ones of you would want to do this, and I've tagged a lot of people this year so far. So if you want to do this tag, I encourage you to do it. It's a great one. It really made me reflect. I enjoyed the process very, very much. And I look forward to doing more tags the remainder of this year and into the next years as well. Thanks so much for your comments, for your support, for your seeing you in the sprint byways as well as in buddy reads and other ways. It just makes my day. Your bookish friends are the best friends that I could ever have. Enjoy your reading day and happy reading. Bye.